Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. All right, so we need to get to Nefarious Tower so we can get a ship to go off-world and chase after our not self.
I have a question. Once
What
we
are
have
those
this,
like ghosty things on the ground?
Ghosty things.
Like the ghosty looking silhouettes on the ground. Like the cartoon ghosty looking like 2D.
I am not sure. I'm not sure what you mean.
There's like these little like hologrammy looking things that look like little ghosties.
probably just decoration, considering the holographic trees and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Anyway, your question, Lewis.
What I was gonna ask is, once you get the ship, do you have to go through all the planets in a set order?
Sort of. Sometimes, like what will usually happen is in over the course of this game is you'll do. It's like so we'll leave here and you'll get. Then we'll have the thing to do with Rivet, and then I think at that point we get a choice between doing a Ratchet level and a Rivet level.
Oh.
And then once you do the two of them, the plot progresses and so on.
Okay, so you get to do some stuff like in a custom order, but there's no like non-linear progression attached to it like there was in like Ratchet 1, where you could go to one planet and get like the O2 mask, or go to another planet and get the
There's none of that.
the trespasser.
It's basically like a choice between, you know how in like 3D World and stuff, the path would just randomly split between two levels.
Yeah, but it didn't. You didn't necessarily have to. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's better than modern Ratchet games have generally been. But
It honestly reminds me a little bit more of Mario Odyssey, where you just like get to choose between two kingdoms.
yeah,
And then you have to do the other one anyway. It just you get to pick one first.
yeah. In Ratchets 1 and 2, more so 1, you would often get like 2 planets, maybe 3 planets that you could go to, depending. Basically, what would happen is that you would find a robot in one of the levels that would have an info bot that shows Ratchet information about a particular planet, and as soon as you found that, regardless of whether you had all the things you would need on that planet, you could go to that planet. So you often had multiple places that you could go to at any given time, and you would have to complete certain missions on certain planets to get certain upgrades that you would need to progress further on another planet. So
Oh, that sounds cool. I
Yeah.
like that kind of thing usually.
yeah. So there was a kind of, I guess, light Metroidvania element to the progression in Ratchet 1. They went a little easier on it in 2, but you generally still had multiple options as to where to go and what order to do things in to progress. 3 just sort of threw that in the trash, and it hasn't come back ever since. So
So here's our general upgrade for our weapons.
yeah,
Each thing does little bonuses, like they'll do like a 1% increase in damage or something, and the big cells, when you surround them, will unlock a bigger upgrade for it.
Man, I love Final Fantasy X.
I Final Fantasy X. Okay, in Final Fantasy X, when you got like 2 spheres on the sphere grid, you felt that upgrade. Not so much with these weapons. Like, you don't feel any difference from 1 or 2 upgrades. You really should. You know what? Just save up your Raritanium until you have a whole bunch to splurge all at once with, because otherwise it's gonna feel like micromanaging busy work.
I mean, that's generally what I do. Is like I'll only ever use it when I happen to run into a Zircon.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't like the upgrade system. They haven't changed this goddamn upgrade system in like 3 or 4 games.
I don't mind it. It's just one of those things where it feels a tad superfluous. I'd rather have a more have Raritanium be like a slightly more common gold bolt. So instead of having so much Raritanium, you have like 3 or 4 at any given time.
Yeah, I mean, like,
And those individual things matter more.
I mean, like, I say I don't like the upgrade system even in Ratchet 2, but at least when you leveled up your weapon in Ratchet 2, the weapon transformed and became like a much cooler version of the same weapon that had like its own perks, or was just generally stronger. Like, you got this big animation on screen where the gun is spinning around, and then it flashes and becomes an even bigger version of the same gun. You know? you immediately felt that once you reached that milestone. But what? Why is the
It's an outdoor jacuzzi club.
For
why
robots, they'll short circuit and die.
why is the jacuzzi bubbling purple toxic ooze?
For robots. They like to swim in the toxic Dragon Quest swamp. Don't worry about it.
Look, I'm pretty sure that would hurt robots actually more than it would hurt organic beings. Like, corrosion is a problem.
Listen, you can stand in the toxic swamp for as long as you want. It's only when you actually take steps do you take damage.
That stuff is going to seep inside and fry their circuits. It would kill them faster than it would kill an organic life form. And it would kill an organic life form pretty fast. Okay. So, here's another question. How good is this game about unique level-specific enemies?
Not very.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
You're kind of always fighting either nefarious forces of the Goon Squad and so on.
Yeah, it's been that way kind of since 3. It's one of the things that...
I mean, obviously there's some variation because we'll go to like the pirate world later and we'll fight mostly pirates and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's some variety. It's just not like every world has a whole array of different,
Yeah,
enemies.
that's the unfortunate thing that started with 3. And in 3, it was a cost-cutting measure, I think. But, like, in 1 and 2, different planets generally had their own assortment of enemies. There were some recurring ones, but, only were story-appropriate. And then in 3, it was all just, the same recurring soldier enemies from whatever group you were fighting. Yeah, they're kind of forgettable to me, to be honest. But like, you go in 1, you go to the forest planet that has like a logger woodcutting theme, and the robots there that you have to fight would reflect that, So I like it when games do that, and I dislike it when game series that used to do that stop doing it, because it just feels lazy in comparison. I suppose it's a little petty to complain about that with all the graphical excellence going on around us.
I'd say it's probably more a matter of, do you want the select enemies we have to look really, really good, or do you want to have like recolors and small little tweaks here and there, but they don't look as good?
Yeah.
Like that sparky looking thing on the ground. What is that? What does that do? Like the hologrammy looking guy that looked like an electric thing.
I don't know.
Well, you guys are the ones who played this game. I can't answer that question.
I haven't played this one yet. I don't have a PS5. If I could afford a PS5, I'd be in a much better place.
If you could find a PS5, maybe it would even be something, but they're still like impossible to get, right?
Yeah, more or less. They're a little more common than they used to be for obvious reasons, but
Damn the chip shortage. Oh
no, they have skids.
That didn't go as well as you thought it would, did you? I mean, he looked like he was making a cool escape, like Dante in Devil May Cry 4, but then that happens. Well. That is literally a Dante move, Say some cool things, spread your arms, fall backwards off a cliff.
Behold the power of the solid-state drive.
This is a pretty cool sequence. I'm getting some Mass Effect flashbacks again, actually, because this reminds me
And
of
we're back
that,
at the shop.
There's a car racing sequence in Lair of the Shadow Broker that made everyone think of Attack of the Clones. And that's what I was thinking of right now. Not Attack of the Clones, but like that car sequence.
Yeah.
That car sequence was okay in Attack of the Clones.
It was a fun action set piece. The prequels had a few of those.
Well, that's the thing is like that's like the only really good action set piece in Attack of the Clones until the very end where you have Yoda v Dooku. Yeah, because like there's not a lot of action scenes in Attack of the Clones. There's that, And then there's like a huge gap where there's basically nothing until the really, really short, not Boba Fett, Jango Fett fight. And then
the Jango Fett fight wasn't that short, and I actually remember really liking it the last time I watched it.
I mean, I think the last time I watched Attack on the Clones was when we did our commentary on Attack on the Clones, which has to be like 8 years ago.
What I really liked about the Jango Fett sequence is it's the one time in the entire movie series where someone without Force powers actually gets the better of a Jedi. And I thought it was clever, you know? I wish they would do more of that kind of thing.
But the Jedi need to be super duper special that can't be beat because they're Jedi.
Well, like, it kind of expands on, like, that one moment from Return of the Jedi where Boba Fett manages to, like, get a hold of Luke's arms with his grappling hook, where it looked for a moment like there might have been a real fight on their hands, but then because Return of the Jedi had its head up his ass and was trying to be super funny all the time, Boba Fett just eats shit right away.
You know, thinking back on it, Return of the Jedi's like saving Han sequence is an instance of like really cool setup and the setup for why is he disco dancing?
So
because he's taunting because he hit us.
The expanded universe did something really cool with the saving Han sequence that makes it like suddenly really plot important to like the best 3 books in the entire series. So you've heard of Mara Jade, right?
Yeah, she's like the Luke's love interest in the books.
Eventually. When she's introduced, she's an enemy. She would have completely derailed the entire series and, like, brought Luke to the Emperor. No, actually led to Luke's death, actually. If she had just been allowed to enter Jabba the Hutt's, place and take part in that whole situation. But she was caught just a little bit early and wasn't able to be on the barge during that whole sequence. If she had been there, and this was like a vision that Luke sees at some point, she would have caught Luke's lightsaber out of the air with her Force powers, and they would have been boned.
Oh, at the point where it's just like R2's like, yo, catch, and then he gets it. Yeah.
And she would have just yoinked it out of the air. This is a vision of an alternate future that Luke sees at one point. So Luke's love interest is someone who, if things had gone slightly differently, would have completely, like, derailed their victory and gotten them all killed. It's actually kind of a really cool twist. That whole trilogy of books is excellent, but also, like, George Lucas completely ignored them when writing the prequels, and they don't make sense anymore.
Sounds like a Star Wars extended universe book.
George Lucas didn't care about the extended universe. Like, he explicitly did not read them when writing his prequels. So they're canon, but also, like, they don't make sense in canon. And the Clone Wars, as envisioned in that particular trilogy, were a completely different kind of Clone Wars that involved these things called the Clone Masters, and the clones going insane, and the clones being the bad guys in the war, even. Yeah.
Who is this like little robot thing?
She is Glitch. She's here to do our little mini... Ratchet has a history of having a lot of weird little mini side mode things.
Yeah.
Well, it's Insomniac, so that checks out.
Yeah. So this is kind of this game's version of that, because you will use like the rapid fire and like the little homing rockets things with your shoulder buttons. So this is kind of the haptic feedback mini game thing. Because a lot of the mini games involve whatever fancy new tech the system has.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like the walking on walls thing is really neat.
One of the things that I will say about the side modes in the Ratchet games, that they tend to be fairly focused in the game's design, by which I mean you get one big one. that is iterated on throughout the game, rather than a bunch of little ones or a bunch of different styles like you would get in Spyro 3. So the game design tends to be pretty consistently good throughout any given game, except for Ratchet 2 and its space flight thing. That was not good.
Okay. I think I would prefer that, because one of the things when I was playing Spyro 2, I actually ended up liking Spyro 1 better, and part of that was because I felt that a lot of the mini games in Spyro 2 were not that fun.
So I love this bit coming up here. Ratchet finally got the drop on him, and he's just like, whoops. It's a running gag in the series that Ratchet always tries to sneak up on the big bag and his evil swivel chair thing, and he just always botches it somehow.
And that's this dimension's Nefarious, right?
No, that's our dimension. That's our
dimension's
Nefarious.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
You'll be able to
Well,
tell.
you'll know.
Yeah, they'll look different.
Welcome, O master of us all.
Is the password Dr. Nefarious?
No, he left the password on a sticky note.
Why do I need a password? I'm the Emperor. How about I obliterate you instead? Ha 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 ha.
And that was the password.
Yeah, that's Nefarious, all right. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Okay, I'm gonna need to file a complaint with the subtitle writer. He clearly said Lombax as opposed to Lombax. 0 out of 10, worst game of all time.
Yeah.
Lucas wipe.
It is a Lucas wipe. That is literally a
Oh,
Lucas
but they put
wipe.
the planet name in the corner. I remember that was something that people got unnecessarily mad about in Rogue One. When
In
they
Rogue
put the planet.
One, it was just weird because it's like the only movie that does that, and the movies are generally pretty good about establishing where they're taking place without doing that. So it's just kind
Yeah,
of like,
it was definitely inconsistent, but it's like they're Star Wars fans, so people got more upset than they should be about something that didn't matter.
Well, Rogue One is also just weird in that, like, there's a lot of good story there if you read the novel. If you watch the movie, it's like nobody gets any development at all.
Rogue One is an interesting mixed bag of having a lot of cool stuff and a legitimately compelling final act. But again, like, there's not enough time for the ragtag group of misfits to get enough development. Because, like, each individual death at the end is really sad. A spoiler alert, all of those brave Corinthians died to get us that information. Didn't you know? But like, the robot dying's really sad, and like the blind, not quite a Jedi, dying's really sad. But pretty much everybody else, you don't get enough time to really get attached to them so that their inevitable death matters, you know?
Yeah, and like I say, the novel is a lot better about that. But like,
you have room in the novel to give them the character development they need.
Rogue One is an interesting example of why expanded universe novels are good, and trying to do expanded universe novels in movie format is kind of not an easy thing to pull off.
That's probably why they mostly switched to the Disney Plus stuff.
The Netflix stuff has like more room to stretch his legs, I suppose. Wow, and all these Star Wars tangents were made relevant by one Lucas wipe.